Hi, I'm Tim Kane, entertainment editor at the Herald and Review, and I'm at my desk. I picked up a magazine not too long ago, published by the company that publishes Classic Rock magazine, which is a magazine that I've really grown to be fond of in the last year or so. And it's called Classic Rock Presents AOR, and it's album-oriented rock. And the cover is part of the graphic representation of what Journey did for a series of its albums in the 1980s, called A Beetle. It was a scarab, actually. One of the things I found really interesting about the story contained in the magazine, talking about the scarab and its significance for Journey and how they used it in the album covers and stuff like that, is the writer saying, well, you know, we think of logos and we think of packaging a lot these days, but that was not something that was done in the 1980s, as though this was a brand new idea coming out of Journey. One of the problems with having younger writers who are only interested in their purview of the world is you can have people saying silly things like Journey essentially created branding. Branding goes back for years. Anybody over the age of 50 who will remember the Beatles having the big T on the bass drum, that's branding. The Beatles had different logos with each of their albums that made them distinct. That's branding. Move forward into the 70s. Pink Floyd would do entire packages. That was branding. If you were to take a look, for example, at the Dark Side of the Moon album, classic example of branding, where you could actually take the gatefold album, turn it inside out, and have a bunch of them lining your room, and everything would line up. Also, Yes was a great example as well. Roger Dean did a series of album covers that were so distinct that 30 years after the fact, I was able to say to my cousin, who was really into Yes along with me, as we were watching Avatar, I said, did watching Avatar remind you of looking at Yes album covers? And he was able to say, yeah. Part of that is thanks to specific artists, specific companies who designed those. Hypnosis was the company that designed the covers for Pink Floyd, and Roger Dean designed them for Yes. Journey had its own designer, and there are people who are designing things now. So I guess I'm probably addressing to you what I should be addressing to the magazine. It's just silly to think that this was a brand new idea in the 1980s. It wasn't. It was around 20 years before. It was around 20 years before that. Really nothing new under the sun when it comes to packaging. There was one other thing in the article that I found really fascinating, and that is, and I don't know whether this is accurate or not, the claim that Journey has sold more albums since they broke up than they did when they were together. And if that's so, A, that's incredible, and B, record industry has nothing to complain about. We may not be selling 12 million albums of the album that's the albums that are topping the charts, but if you're selling 2 or 3 million of 20, 30-year-old catalog pieces, I think you're doing fine. And if the value of the estates of Elvis Presley, the deceased Beatles, the living Beatles, the Doors, Jimi Hendrix, if the value of those estates are at all tied to record sales or CD sales or digital download sales, however you want to put it, then really none of them have anything to complain about. But me, I'll keep finding things to complain about because that's how I roll. I'm Tim Kane, and I'm at my desk. I'm going to turn and pull a magnet off of my overhead now. If I can find the damn thing. Or maybe I'm not.